So the big story around Abuja last week was the various committees meeting with MDAs, ministers, heads of agencies and departments trying to defend Budget 2020. So much has been said about infrastructure, oil and gas, and all of that. So we're talking today about the social investment program. This was one major crux of President Buhari's administration since 2016. About 1.5 trillion naira had been budgeted. The office responsible for the social investment program has received about 470 billion naira. In 2020 budget, what is coming to social investment programs of Buhari's administration is just 30 billion naira. So how will this program continue under this current tight fiscal environment? Let's get a few questions of our guest in Abuja this morning from Abuja studio, Celestine Okeke, who is the lead partner at SEEDI. Celestine, good morning. Welcome to the program. We appreciate your time.
Good morning, Boston. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's good to have you. Hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah, I did. Thanks for asking.
I'm tempted to ask you if you have shares in any of the companies that are making some earnings announcements, but I'm going to keep that a little bit later and give you your views on that if your outlook is positive on those earnings. But first, let's talk about the big story. When we talk about social investment spending, this is something that President Buhari himself and his administration prides himself in since they came in 2015. In 2016, they rolled out the grand SIP program. What's your view on what has been done so far?
The SIP programming, by the concept that brought it out, has been a good initiative. You look at the trader money, the market money, the JIP, the school feeding program, and the Empower. By the concept around it is a good initiative. But then, recall that at one outing I had here with you some few months back, I did mention that one challenge I personally had with the SIP program is the cost for delivering the intervention. So if you look at, say, the trader money arm of the SIP program, it appeared that it was costing the Office of the Vice President so much to deliver on the program in terms of the logistic expense for running the program. But give and take, by and large, the SIP intervention program really impacted on the bottom of the pyramid in Nigeria.
Okay, when I'm going here,
delivery, and I just say back then.
We'll talk about the challenges. You said that the concept itself is good. So this is not something peculiar to Nigeria. I'm sure you attest to that. The social investment program is important in a highly impoverished country or economy such as ours.
Yes, so as I was saying, the concept is one to be applauded by all and sundry. We ought to say, yes, the government has taken a good step in reaching the bottom of the pyramid. Some persons might say 10,000 is not much of a money, but I will tell you 1,000 is much of a money to a very poor person. If you give somebody who is at the lowest ebb of the economy 10,000, it will make so much impact. So if you look at the trader money, the market money, the JIP, the school feeding program, the Empower, it impacted in lots and lots of persons. An initiative that you would hope would get expanded in terms of how much gets into it in funding, not in budgeting now, because you could budget and the fund doesn't get to the intended program. So we had hoped that there will be a sustenance of at least the level of funding we had in the last three budget cycle. But then to have it at 30 billion for 2020, we can't tell. I honestly can't tell what will become the fate of persons who are hoping to be beneficiaries or those who are, for instance, on the trader money. We were promised if you pay your 10,000 naira loan back, you go for your 50,000 naira loan. So several persons have been making plans or already paying their 10,000 initial loan with hope of getting 50,000. And this will be a huge shock, a huge setback to most of them. We hope to see what will come out of this 30 billion. And I think 30 billion is still some good money. We just need to focus on what we'll do with that amount of money.
That's a slash in that budget. 94% is almost is what you call almost a wipeout, because how do you slash a budget? 96% is like going heading to ground zero, as it were. But again, if you look at what President Buhari is trying to achieve and his administration is trying to achieve in overall economic revival. So you have the heavy hittings, roads, belts, railways, airports, the big stories. Then you come to the bottom of the pyramid, as you put it. You have trader money, JIP, and the rest of them. These two policies top and bottom will have to come together somewhere in the middle to deliver what Nigerians really want. So if you look at the demography and the level of poverty in the country, which of these do you think should ramp up to actually deliver the middle line where the president is looking to lay the foundation of delivering 100 million people out of poverty over a 10-year period? Celestine.
Okay, so in response to your question, I returned from Nsukka yesterday. Nsukka is in Enugu State, which is in the southeast. And I did the Nsukka Benue Kogi Road into Abuja here. And I will tell you, before now, that road used to be about the best route if you want to get to the southeast because the Kogi Edo route is cut off. But then, looking at the state of disrepair at which the road was as at yesterday, I had a second thinking on how government should fund works and infrastructure in Nigeria. My thinking strictly is this. Government needs to begin to concession federal roads in Nigeria. But the reality is we do not have the funds to build these roads in a way and manner that they will last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We should begin to emphasize on trying to fund projects that we do not have the capacity to fund at this point in time. I'll give you an example. The Lokoja-Abuja road, which connects Lokoja-Abuja and other states beyond, has been under construction in the last 10, 15, no, let me just say 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And to date, there are sections of the road that have gone bad while we are still fixing some other sections of the road. So government resources is so thin to the point where we will begin to urge government to begin to concession this road. I'll be very glad if you give, say, the Kogi Benue Plateau road to, say, Julius Berger, and they build up the road and begin to put tolls on the road and will pay toll to use it, fine. But if you continue to try to put in the thin resources, the lean resources you have into road networks that are going bad across every state in Nigeria, people are complaining of bad roads. Government should emphasize on trying to fund sectors that it doesn't have the capacity to fund at this point in time and begin to look at how it can impact on people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. How can we kickstart the MSME economy, the small business economy in Nigeria? Let's begin to support this person because we have taken out funds from the SIP program, from support for small businesses, and we're moving it to, say, works, where we may not even be able to meet 30% of the demand for road construction, for rail construction and the rest. At the end of the day, by the time we end the 2020 budget cycle, we would not have been able to do much road, maybe in a state or two, do 1 or 2 road fix. And then we have denied over 200,000 Nigerians who are 2 million Nigerians who are benefiting from the SIP program, benefit to be able to stay out of the poverty line. And remember, where our case is a multidimensional poverty case, not just a poverty case now. And we're struggling to build road that we won't be able to complete. And I'll tell you, the Onisha Delta Edo Kogi road that comes to the FCT is cut off. People don't use it again. How much are we going to put in to fix that road? We may not have that money in the next 2-3 years. Why not begin to concession federal government roads and use those funds that they are voting for works, for instance, so begin to impact on the rural economy so that people can kickstart the Nigerian economy. I don't think we should be funding the works ministry so much because no matter what you throw into the works ministry as it is today, it won't even impact on 10% of the road that we need to build in Nigeria for the economy to kickstart. Yes,
Celestine, the Ministry of Works and Housing is looking a private briefing by the Honorable Minister in charge of Works and Housing, Babatunde Rajafashola, says about 600 or thereabout odd numbers of roads will be the subject of focus between 2020 and 2022. No new projects will be coming up, so they try to do that. Then we have the news about the President issuing Executive Order number 7, granting Flour Mills, Unilever, Lafarge, Dangote permission to construct 794 0.4-kilometer roads in the 6 geopolitical zones. This will cost billions in loans and interest rates and what have you. Are you encouraged by this side of the conversation of the big-ticket road, Belt and Road construction?
Yeah, Boston, I was in this studio some 3-4 months back. And then this same, I think that was when the executive order was signed back then. I saw a list of the roads that these big companies were going to build. And that's like some 4 months back. And from that time till now, we have not seen anything come out of that executive order. And I did say here categorically that these companies will only build roads that will benefit their business enterprises, except you want them to do the other roads on a purely commercial basis, which should be the same thing as giving it to the construction companies to build. Dangote, I don't see Dangote going to build the Enugu-Nsukka Kogi road. Is really of no benefit to his company. Flour Mills will be the one that will lead to maybe their site or their production facility, not the one that leads out of it. So we should begin to, it's a good one, but Bearing in mind that from the time that executive order was signed till now, we have not seen them move to site or do anything. We will begin to have a rethink on how do we get people, company back to build those roads. If they would build based on business interest for themselves, let's begin to talk to the construction company. At this point in time, and I'm being very honest, if we need to go out of the country to beg for companies to come build roads for us and take tolls on that road, I think we need to do that. But if you look at the budget for Ministry of Works, 127 billion, and they say you have over 600 roads that needs to be rebuilt across all the 6 geopolitical zones. And look at what it costs the Nigerian government to fix road. For a kilometer of road is going to over $1 billion naira for most construction companies to fix. That then tells you that at best we'll be fixing maybe 120, 130 kilometers of road. And that might just be in one state or two states.
Okay,
so realistically, we need to begin to look for private funds that will build roads for us.
Celestine, let's get back to the SIP, the social investment programs. About 470.8 billion naira has been released so far under a 1.5 trillion naira program for poverty alleviation program under the current administration. Then you look at this spendings, like you're trying to say earlier in your comment, opening this conversation with you about some of the stories coming out. We've heard stories about folks who ought to, this money is contracted to those who will provide like the school feeding program, and some very untoward stories have been coming out about some corrupt practices, even under the Empower program and all of that. Do you think all of these are a responsible part of the thinking on the part of the executive, that perhaps this needs to be, the funding needs to be scaled down a little bit and take it up to where you have the hardcore brick and mortar infrastructure construction going on?
I don't think cutting the SIP program is a function of the corruption embedded in some of the activities going on there. Because even if you look at it, even at the Ministry of Works and Housing, there's still high-level corruption happening there. What I think is government is thinking that it needs to...
That's an allegation. Celestine, that's an allegation if you talk about high-level corruption going on in construction, works and housing. You have any specific details?
No, I'm just speaking, if we said there might be corruption at the SIP program, the school feeding program, Empower and the rest, if you do in contrast to works and housing, if there is corruption at that level, it will be a higher level corruption than you would find at the SIP program. That's just an allegation. We're saying if we allege that there is corruption at the SIP program, the school feeding program, Empower and the rest, would also be in mind that there will be higher corruption in the big ticket ministries and the rest. But by and large, what I think government is saying is it wants to divert from the SIP and invest in works and housing, which should not be a bad idea. But if we look at the fact that what you are then taking out from the SIP program, you're putting into works and housing, may not really impact on the lives of Nigerians for now. What do we then need to do? We need to balance all of these things. We need to fix road, yes. But then, if the resources we have are not sufficient enough for us to fix road, why not look at the low-hanging fruits? What are the low-hanging fruits? Kickstart the small-scale agricultural industry in Nigeria. Kickstart whatever small-scale industry you want to kickstart that will quickly contribute to the economy, and then begin to look for private funds to fund the big projects for you. Because at the end of the day, if we put in so much money into Ministry of Works and it's not able to impact on road delivery for the sectors that are critical for us, or railway, then we won't be able to make impact with that funding. And then for the railway, there has been argument around whether we should subsidize railway ticket for those who go from Kaduna to Abuja, for instance. And the ministry is telling you, Ministry of Transport is saying that they're running at a loss keeping that rail line going. Government also needs to begin to be a little more realistic with itself. Why should we subsidize railway ticket for people to go from Abuja to Kaduna or from Kaduna to Abuja? And we are incurring so much cost on doing that. And we are paying back the loan we got from the Chinese government to put up the railway system. Why not begin to be more realistic to say, look, at this point in time, we are taking off subsidy for several items, even for railway, for fuel, for whatever. Let's face our realities now rather than push our realities forward.
Okay, let's leave it there for today, Celestine. We appreciate your coming through on the program today to raise the curtain for the current Business and Markets Week. Thank you so much. I hope you're watching the stock market.
I do very well.
Okay, okay. You like what you see?
For now, I do. Okay. But of course, I would like, some persons may not like, but for me, I like what I see.
Okay, let's leave it there for today. Thank you so much. Have a great day and a very nice business week ahead of you.